So you say that you don't know why you cheated, but here's the truth. You may be afraid to look any deeper because you believe what you will uncover will make you look even worse. You are afraid it will create more questions. You are afraid it will give you more to explain. And you are afraid that understanding why it happened will make repairing the damage feel impossible and never ending. So I don't know becomes your way of avoiding investigating yourself. But you see, your avoidance is exactly why your spouse cannot trust this will never happen again. Because if you do not understand what created the betrayal, how can either one of you know that the same internal pattern is still not living inside of you? If you are new, I am Michael, a 5-star rated infidelity recovery specialist. Now, I've personally experienced betrayal as the betrayed and the unfaithful partner, and I've helped couples all over the world rebuild trust after infidelity. One of the greatest mistakes couples make is believing the betrayal began with a message, a kiss, sex, or the moment the affair became physical. It did not. That was only the visible action. Before that action, there was an internal sequence already happening inside the unfaithful partner. There were emotions they did not know how to manage. There were interpretations they created about themselves, their spouse, and their circumstances. There were desires they became attracted to. There were boundaries slowly crossed. There were justifications that made each decision feel smaller and safer or more acceptable than it actually was. And beneath all of that, there were patterns and issues that existed long before the affair began. This is why saying it just happened is not an explanation. Affairs do not simply just happen. You see, there were decisions before the decision and a permission system developing inside you before the betrayal became visible. Maybe you felt insecure and interpreted someone else's attention as proof that you were desirable. Maybe you felt disconnected and convinced yourself that your needs did not matter. Maybe you were overwhelmed and began using attention, fantasy, sex, or secrecy as escape. Or maybe you felt entitled to something because you were angry, resentful, lonely, or unappreciated. None of these explanations justify the betrayal. Understanding why you cheated is not about transferring accountability to your spouse, your childhood, your mental health, alcohol, or the person you cheated with. It is about taking greater responsibility than that. Because accountability is not only admitting what you did, accountability also requires uncovering what inside you allowed you to do it. This is what I break down through the 9 stages of infidelity. For there is the cause, the emotional effect, the interpretation, the desire, the action, the justification, the issues and patterns, the origins, and finally, the cure, meaning how to make sure that never happens again. Now, for example, you may say, I cheated because someone gave me attention, but millions of people receive attention without betraying their spouse. The attention was not the complete cause. The deeper question is this: what did the attention cause you to feel? What did you interpret that feeling to mean? What desire developed from that interpretation? What did you begin allowing yourself to do? Plus, what did you tell yourself that made continuing feel acceptable? Perhaps their attention made you feel important. You interpreted that feeling as something you have been missing. So then you began desiring more validation. You allowed conversations to become increasingly personal. Then you justified it by telling yourself, we're only friends, I deserve to feel good, nothing physical has happened, I can stop whenever I want. This is not really cheating. Now, we are no longer pretending that the affair came out of normal. We can see the sequence. When we can see the sequence, we can begin interrupting it before it becomes another betrayal. This is what your spouse is searching for when they ask why. They are not always looking for one perfect sentence that makes the pain disappear. They need evidence that you have developed enough self-awareness to recognize warning signs, confront your justifications, and respond differently before the pattern reaches the final action again. Saying, I don't know, leaves your spouse responsible for protecting themselves from something you still cannot explain. But investigating yourself tells them this: I am willing to look directly at what I did, understand what created it, and change the internal pattern, not only stop the external behavior. If you are struggling to understand why the affair happened, I created a free 6-module couples masterclass inside the Rebuild Trust Now community. Join through the first link in the description and begin with Module 2, Why the Affair Happened. I am also adding an exclusive community video that walks you through how to begin investigating the betrayal using the 9 stages of infidelity. Remember this, ending the affair only stops the behavior. If you truly want to rebuild trust, you must uncover the internal sequence that created it.